Whoa, Diablo 4's out and there is loads of stuff that I wish I knew before I started playing, and I'm going to give you a few things that I think will help you have a smooth experience in Diablo 4. Now, nothing is going to replace just playing through the game at your own pace and enjoying it however you want to enjoy it, but if you want a bit of advice about how to make your life a little easier, things that maybe you should know, then this video will help you out. If you're interested in the build that I'm using to level, I'm playing a rogue, a twisting blade rogue, very common in very high end of the tier lists across the board, but I'm not using the versions that are out there on Icy Veins or some of the other channels. I'm using a smoke grenade imbuement version, which I find is really strong for leveling. I do think that down the line it might get a little bit worse at endgame, but we'll just see how we go when we get there. Right, number one, and it's to do with those little crystals that you pick up every now and again. You might notice when you are doing events around the map or side quests, you get these things called Obols. And Obols are basically almost like gambling chips. You can use them to gamble items at sort of a vendor in any of the main towns. You'll see them. I'll show you actually. Thoroughly recommend that you don't hang on to your Obols. It's over here at Lillith, the purveyor of curiosities. So as you'll notice, you have a cap on the Obols that you can carry. And that very quickly racks up. If you're doing lots of events around the map, you'll end up getting loads of these as it goes. And you'll probably want to say, well, oh, you know, I want to gamble for the best gear, so I really should wait until I'm the top level. That is not the case. You want to use these as and when you can, especially once you cap out during levels. Just go and spend them at the vendor, because they are not that hard to come by, and they can grab you some really cool, unique items. I actually got a couple of cool aspects from some uniques that I picked up from that vendor. So go and spend your Obols as you cap them out, and then you can always refarm some more. They're not hard to come by, and if you cap out, you're just going to be wasting them, as you cannot physically carry any more than you have in your inventory. So don't hoard Obols. Go and use them. You can always grind more. They are not hard to come by. My second tip is somewhat related, and it's to do with legendaries. So as you go, probably around level 25 onwards, 20 onwards, you're going to start finding that you'll sort of run into more and more legendaries. And it can be very tempting at this level to just say, oh, well, they're going to be rubbish legendaries, right? So I'm not going to bother doing anything with them. I'm going to disenchant them, or I'm going to sort of deconstruct them via the forge. Keep your eye out, because the legendary passives that you get can be extracted, and some of them, even at low level, are really, really good. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for good legendary passives. I have got one of the most important passives for Twisting Blade Rogues on my gloves that I've picked up at like level 31. A level 27 amulet has got an almost perfect... no, that's not the one. Where is it? Oh, sorry, I've removed it. Here we go. Yeah, like a level 24 legendary has got a really strong aspect that you can use in the late game. So you just want to keep an eye out for legendaries that sort of, especially if they're ones that crop up for your build. And if they're good, just extract them. And you can extract legendary powers via the occultist. And it's very easy to do. You just jump over there, put the legendary in one of the tabs. In fact, I'll show you, because it is just that easy to do. I don't have any legendaries that I currently want to disenchant, but I'll just show you how easy it is to go and extract legendaries. You just go up to the occultist, you go here, extract aspect, you put it in, and you pay a bit of gold. And that is how you can extract a legendary aspect that you can use throughout the remainder of the game, especially if it's a really good one. And I'm hoarding some because I'm not sure what I want to use and what I don't, but you know, I know that this one features in a lot of builds. Basic skills grant a 20% damage reduction. 20% damage reduction for a basic skill, very strong. So yes, there are definitely legendaries that you're going to want to keep your eye out for, and don't necessarily automatically go and break them down into their parts. If they are a good legendary with a good essence, even if you outgrow the item in terms of level, you want to extract that essence so that you can then use it later on in the game. Right, let's on to the next one. The next one is somewhat related, and it is about using your time, especially in the starting area, wisely. Now, I don't know if you know this, but you don't necessarily have to start on Act 1. You can actually do any of the acts. There is a sort of a scaling monster level system where essentially any of the monsters in the area are going to be around your level. So you could actually start with any of the acts. Once you get to the main town of Kyovashad, you'll have 3 acts available to you, and you can start with any of them. It's just easier to start with the one in Kyovashad because it's in the local area, and then it's easier to then move on. It's easier to then move on to Act 2 because that's just like a pathway up here, and then eventually over towards Act 3 over here. But the reason I have this map up, and this map I'll link in the description below, this is called D4 Builds, and it's the interactive map, is that as you go around the area, you will want to try and pick up these statues of Lilith that you can see here. So I've got 28 out of 28 statues of Lilith, and I'll just show you. I have got 28 out of 28 statues of Lilith in the Act 1 area. And I did this as I was traveling around. I looked at the map to make sure that when I was running past an area for a quest or I was in that area, I wasn't missing statues of Lilith. Statues of Lilith are actually really, really good to have, simply because they just give you an account-wide boost to any characters on this realm. It's not a massive boost, but some of the big boosts that you can get out of it are... one second. Yeah, Obol increases, and you can get sort of dexterity, etc. increases. I've had loads of dexterity increases from statues of Lilith, and that applies to all of your characters. So you definitely want to keep your eyes out for statues of Lilith as you go, and use an interactive map to make sure you aren't missing any, because it's always a pain in the ass to have to go and reach out to a corner of a random part of the map because you've missed a statue of Lilith. So as you're leveling and as you're going through quests, just keep an interactive map open somewhere so you can keep an eye on where the statues of Lilith are, and you can pick them up as you go.
Okay, this one's a little interesting, and sorry if my sound quality has dipped, because I'm now recording on my phone. But essentially, don't do all the side quests and the dungeons as you're leveling up. The reason is, well, there's 2 reasons. Beyond Act 1 and Act 2, side quests and dungeons stop scaling after level 50. And if you do every side quest and dungeon doing Act 1 and Act 2, you will very quickly hit level 50, and you'll get a lower XP gain until you've completed that part of the story. The second reason is that if you leave the side quests that go into dungeons, and also that you leave the dungeons as well themselves, once you get to World Torment level 3, after you've completed, I believe, Act 3, you then can go back and do those, and not only will you get the first complete reward, you will also get glyphs and extra rewards that you can only get on World Torment 3. So it just increases your efficiency, and it means that you don't have to do the same dungeon twice. There might be some dungeons that you want to do because the first clear reward glyph is something that you need for your build, but especially if those dungeons are not necessary for your build, or you don't necessarily need to do them, 100% wait until you get to World Torment 3 to do them. I know the completionist in you, because I'm exactly the same. You want to do everything that you see on the map, every single blue exclamation mark. But if you can, try not to do all of them, because they just become more efficient if you go back and do them on World Torment 3, and you'll get increased experience, especially post level 50 in Act 1 and Act 2, because in Act 1 and Act 2 things cap out a little bit at level 50. So this is somewhat related to the last point, but also related to the Lilith statues. Try to get as much renown as possible, leveling up as you can, because by the time that you get to level 50 and you unlock the Paragon tree, if you have that renown already locked in, you'll get free Paragon points, which basically means that you get a massive boost in power level and Paragon points once you get to level 50. And that is also really helpful, because that allows you to become more powerful and makes it easier for you to farm higher difficulty stuff to get the gear that you need to make your build really good. So if you do the work on the renown before you actually get to level 50, so you do a lot of it as you're going, like picking up the Lilith statues, exploring all the areas, maybe doing the events, etc., then you are going to get more rewards and you're going to reap more benefits by the time that you hit level 50. Now, you do not need to 100% every area to get the full renown bonuses. So just take a look at what the highest value renown items are on the Renowned checklist and just do those as you're going. If you can do them as you're doing the campaign, even better, you're not going to waste time. So just really good to do the Renown bonuses, because it means by the time that you hit level 50, you're going to get that sweet, sweet Paragon bonus, and it's going to give you a massive power boost as soon as you unlock that tree. This is a really small one, but I think a really important one as well. You'll often find that your inventory space runs out pretty quickly in Diablo, and often that can be because you pick up gems and they are, annoyingly, the same size as all of the rest of the gear that you have to pick up. Now, there's a couple of little things to note here. You can salvage in a gear with gems in them and you'll get the gem back. So, little life hack for you. If you get gems in gear that you know that you're going to salvage, just put the gems in the sockets in the gear if they have them, and then just manually salvage those pieces when you go back to town. Not only will you save Not only would you save inventory space in your inventory as you're grinding, but you'll also get those gems back once you salvage, and you can then go put them straight inside your stash. Cool little life hack. It will definitely save you a lot of pain in terms of inventory management.
Fourthly, be pretty indiscriminate, maybe apart from legendaries where you might want to extract, but be pretty indiscriminate as you're leveling up with just literally disenchanting and getting what's it called? What is it? I keep saying disenchanting, and it's actually annoying me. So I'm going to go and quickly check what it's actually called, because for some reason, and I'm sorry that I'm going to add this to the video, for some reason I can't actually remember what the actual process is called. Salvage. I literally didn't even need to get there, and now it's salvage. So be pretty indiscriminate with what you're salvaging as you're leveling up. Ultimately, you're going to find things that are better than the stuff that you've got almost instantaneously, and you can pretty much get through most of the game with the absolute worst gear, ultimately. Just, you need to make sure that I'm very, very quick with how I do it, but I basically just look at, if it's got green number, doesn't matter what else is on that piece of item, I just click the green number. Especially when it comes to weapons, I just click the green number. And even if you have got a good legendary, you don't necessarily need to worry about legendary passives at level 40, level 30, etc. They will become more relevant as you get towards level 50 in the end game. So you can be very indiscriminate with kind of how you just salvage your gear as you go. And obviously you'll find that you collect loads and loads and loads of gear. But every time I come back to town, I literally just go blacksmith, all items. I just salvage all items, and that's pretty much how I approach kind of collecting items in the game. So be pretty indiscriminate with how you salvage items, because ultimately you're going to get a lot of them. You're going to upgrade things very quickly as you're leveling, and they won't make that much difference once you actually eventually get to level 50. And finally, this is something that I didn't know really actually until about 2 days playing the game. These dungeons that you find on the map, you will get a reward for first completion, and that reward is an aspect. Make sure you're scanning the dungeons in your local area for an aspect that you think is going to be relevant to your build, and definitely prioritize doing them as you're going by. You also get Renown for completing a dungeon for the first time, so that's also good because Renown does give you rewards in an area. But I can see right here, Edge Master's aspect. I know that's going to be a good aspect for me at the end of my build, so I'm going to go and get that when I sort of walk through this area again. I know that's a dungeon that I want to do. So make sure you're keeping an eye on the dungeons, because a lot of people can sometimes get confused where the aspects come from, but they are literally a first completion reward for a lot of the dungeons across the map. And you see the little dungeons, the trapdoors, they are semi-permanent, and so you don't actually need to do those if you don't want to. These here are permanent dungeons, and you'll get a reward for completing them for the first time. So definitely have a scan, especially of the ones that still have the first reward completion, and see if they've got aspects that are going to be relevant to you, because you know, if you do them at a lower level, they're going to scale to your level. You're going to have that aspect unlocked for you when you actually need it. So make sure you're just scanning those dungeons for aspects, because they are relatively important, and when you get to the top level, you're going to need aspects to kind of make your build work. So that's why you should do it. And hopefully that is some useful advice for you in terms of tackling Diablo 4. They're just some small things that I wish I'd known before I jumped into the game. And, you know, I think that it'll help you just be a bit more efficient with how you're playing, and hopefully sort of keep you on track to do well. I hope you have a good time playing Diablo 4, guys. It's a really, really fun game, And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of it. And I'm going to make a clan, so I'll post the clan in my Discord server. And yeah, feel free to comment, let me know how you're enjoying it, what class you're playing. And if you want to see the build that I'm playing again, there is a link in the description. I'll see you soon.